My name is Mark Chalmers, and I'm President and CEO of Energy Fuels. Energy Fuels is a company that really stands out amongst all other companies in the resource sector because we're a company built around our ability to process uranium, our also rapidly advancing rare earth strategy and heavy mineral sand strategy, and there is no other company like that out there that you can invest in. We are really an investment in three companies in one, building a critical mineral hub in the United States of America of world significance.
Mark, good to see you, sir. You well?
I'm well, always well, man.
How's the weather treating you?
It's colder than shit out here in Toronto. And when I'm walking down the street, I'm thinking, well, I won't make any more other comments about that.
Let's leave it at that.
Leave it at that.
I think last time I saw you, it was 40 degrees down at White Mesa. So yeah, it's a bit of a difference. But look, I'm here to kind of catch up with you because there's a lot going on. It's a lot of moving parts. Like you said, it's a 3-in-1 type company that you've got going on here. We better start with uranium because we'll get into trouble if we don't start with uranium. You did not sell any uranium in Q4. For a uranium producer, why would you do that?
Because the prices are too low. Who wants to sell uranium into a $65 spot market? We didn't have any contract sales due in the fourth quarter, and so we choose not to sell any uranium.
Right.
Because the replacement value is higher than that. It doesn't make sense to sell uranium below replacement value, the fully loaded replacement value.
Right. Okay. But you are a uranium producer. You're a company over there. I saw the piles are all ready to be processed. So it's probably, just let's be clear, because they get so many people talking on chat rooms and so forth, and it's quite clear there's varying degrees of thought and understanding of what's going on. You will continue to be a uranium producer. That's number one on your strategy, right?
Absolutely. I've been producing uranium for 49 years, Matt. I don't know any better. But at the same time, we've got great assets that we've developed and we're ramping up right now. And, we've got, 4 long-term uranium contracts. We have up to 300,000 pounds to sell in 2025, and that continues to ramp up. But yeah, we're first and foremost a uranium producer. We'll continue to always be a uranium producer.
Okay. Now, we had Phil Williams in here earlier today, ISO Energy. You got a deal with them, with their 20-year mine, which I think you sold them. They'll be feeding into your mind by the looks of it because they failed to kind of pick up.
Yeah. We're project, it's taken time to get the momentum going. It's taken the time to get the miners back in place because there's a shortage of miners. And, we're making advancement with La Salle, Pandora, and certainly Pinyon Plain with the agreement we did with the Navajo Nation on transport, which was, we had no legal reasons to do that other than the fact we didn't want to get into, as they say in Australia, a bun fight with the Navajo Nation. And we now have significant, huge support from the Navajo Nation. So it's a win-win. And we also have, through that agreement, the opportunity to help with the cleanup on the Navajo Nation in the future.
That's done and dusted? Everyone's happy, both sides, win-win?
Look, I think the key people who are not excited about it are the NGOs because they didn't want an agreement to be signed. But we have a very solid relationship with the Navajo Nation. It really turned out, again, as I said, a win-win for both groups. And we're really excited where we can work together with the Navajo Nation going forward.
Okay, then sticking with uranium, look, you've got assets in multiple locations, multiple states in the United States. We've talked ad nauseum about bipartisan support for nuclear energy in the country. Like Trump's in power. I don't think I'm not hearing anything that's changing on that front. And I know you've been clear with me. You don't need government support to kind of move things forward, but is there anything kind of working to your advantage in this kind of environment that you're finding in the United States?
I think the key thing is U.S. produced uranium. Yeah. It's becoming valued higher. I mean, you're starting to look at some differential pricing at Converdyne versus Cameco, a few dollars per pound. I think there's a greater appreciation that we're the largest consumer of nuclear fuel products in the world. And it's important, particularly in this political environment that we're in right now.
Right. How the the utilities behaving in all of this? Because a lot of the conversations we've been having recently, certainly in the past couple of months, this side of Christmas, has been around, there's perhaps a mismatch between the understanding of what the supply potential is and what the supply reality could be between now and 2030.
Yeah.
Right. And as a producer with one of the only mines in the country, you can have a view on America's ability to kind of fill its own boots.
Yeah. Look, I think the biggest indicator is the term market. The term market's north of $82 plus, really reflecting on the utilities prepared to do long-term contracts at those kind of pricing when the spot is 65. So I think that is a good vote of confidence looking out to the future, that people are willing to pay more than the spot because they think that there's got to be a reversal here at some stage. So, I mean, I think that you really have to look at the price of uranium at the true replacement value, which is you got to find that pound, you got to permit that pound, you got to build that project, and you got to produce it, and you got to reclaim it. And right now at 65, it's nowhere close to replacement value. So the fundamentals look good. We're in a great position. Energy Fuels has been the largest next to Cameco, or second largest next to Cameco, first without Cameco for decades, the assets.
Right. And your intent is to continue to be a miner, not just a processor of ore. You'll be mining for your own ore?
Absolutely. I mean, the Pinyon Plain mine, which is the richest uranium project in the history of the United States, and the grades there are exceptional. And we're mining there, and now we're transporting the ore. It's interesting, but I had a picture taken next to an ore pile at the White Mesa Mill, and I built the Pinyon Plain mine 38 years ago. And now the ore is finally coming to the mill on a reliable basis. So that shows some long-term commitment to this industry. So if people think I'm getting out of it, they have something else to think about, because 38 years later, I built a mine and I'm now producing from it.
Okay, and I guess the other component here is, like, there are some producers in the States now, not a lot, not producing a whole bunch of pounds. There's some, like, old mines that people are revisiting and thinking about revisiting. It, as you say, it takes a long time to get these things going again, right? But I'm struggling to kind of work out where the pounds for the US market are going to come from, because we've seen distinct issues in Niger. We've talked about Namibia. Even John Borshoff, one of your good friends, is coming up some issues with regards to kind of delays there around licensing, etc. And elsewhere in the world, the long kind of lead times in Canada as well. What's the US got to do to kind of secure these pounds, and where the heck are they coming from?
After 49 years of being in this business, I have no idea where it's going to come from, because it's harder than it's ever been. There's going to be project failures, projects going to underproduce, but that is the opportunity for companies that actually have the projects, have the knowledge of how to develop these projects, and being positioned to capitalize on that is the opportunity looking to the future. So, but no, when people talk of doubling, tripling of the requirements for nuclear fuel in the next 20 to 30 years, I can't get my head around that, because how we maintain ourselves at current levels, looking out 5 or 10 years, is going to be a challenge.
I find it extraordinary that kind of building out this massive demand, industrial demand that we have for nuclear. We can't feed it. It's like people like buying the downstream.
Yeah, I think given the right pricing, if I look at,
there you go. That's
when I got in the uranium business in 76, in 77, 78, 79, the price uranium in today's dollars was $150. And it was going to go from $150 to $200 to $250 in today's dollars. Well, we're at $66 or $65 for a spot. That type of increase in pricing drives a lot of things. And so I think that, the incentive price is now well north of $100. And I think the reality is that we've got to get back to those kind of pricing in time to really replace that pound that you produce.
So who didn't get the memo? Is it just down to the utilities?
Well, I think that's why the utilities are prepared to sign agreements, contracts for well north of spot, because they're realizing that it's coming. And in our case, at Energy Fuels, we've got 4 long-term contracts, but I'm quite reluctant to sign contracts in the $80 because I know where the future's got to go.
It's an interesting inflection point. When it comes, it's going to come quick.
When it comes, it'll come quick, and I think it will come on the back of a lot of disappointments with projects that have been promised that are going to produce 4 and 5 and 10 million pounds per year, and they didn't produce 1 million pounds.
Yeah, I think that's the message we've been talking, but I'm not sure the right people are listening. We shall see. I don't want to be accused of drinking the Lucasade either, but so we'll leave it at that. I think the big discussion here is around supply, not demand. We don't need any more demand catalysts. We got enough.
Yeah,
we need to feed the beast.
We've got to show that the market that we can supply it, and there's just a limited handful of new projects that can make a difference, and a lot of the existing projects are already struggling.
Right.
It will continue to struggle, and they likely never deliver anywhere close to the expectations.
Yeah, it's slightly terrifying, but exciting if you're backing the right horse.
If you're a proven producer, it's exciting.
Yeah. Let's move on. Toliara, how are things moving there?
They're moving forward. I mean, I think you've seen that, the suspension was lifted. We got an MOU signed with the Madagascar government. Our lawyers are now working very closely with the Madagascar government, working through all the legal documentation to go forward, memorializing the MOU, and everybody's keen to move it forward. But we got to move it forward. It's Africa. But I'm really encouraged. And Matt, we took a bet on that project. It's known to be world-class by any stretch on heavy mineral sands, but I also believe it's the lowest cost heavy rare earth project in the world, because the heavy mineral sands carry it to produce the rare earths for almost nothing. So working on the agreements, Madagascar government's motivated, we're motivated, and I see it as a game changer for our company. And when you look at any investment in the resource sector, which companies have world-class assets? World-class, by any scale, any measure? Not many. And that is what we focused on at Energy Fuels, to secure a world-class, by all measures, of the heavy mineral sand and rare earths, and I couldn't be more excited about it.
I want to make sure I hit all the talking points here because it's important. Okay, let's go to you secured the supply of the from Toliara. You've also shown me, I've seen it, the NdPr coming out at White Mesa Mill. So technically, you've solved for that problem. Your guys have done a great job there. So that you've got that in the bag.
Yeah, they've done an exceptional job, and so many people said we couldn't do it
at volume,
and we did it. And so many people told us it was going to take perhaps years to troubleshoot that circuit. And in 1 week, we were making on-spec material, NdPr, and that material is now being qualified by a number of potential off-takers globally.
Right.
And we built a plant for $20 million, where most people that build that equivalent plant would have been hundreds of millions of dollars. Right. And we built it, and it was, and we've made material. First pass is now advancing through pre-qualification, and I hope to have news flow on that in the near term. On some of the people that have said that this product meets specifications. So, if you heard the number of people that came to me and said, "Good luck, Mark. It's not going to happen without a lot of problems." There were no problems, man. None. And, so we're really excited about that.
Okay. Here's the tough bit, right? You put up the numbers earlier in the month, February. Are we still in February? No, we're not. We're in March. In March. Market looked at it and went, Well, I'm going to mark you down for this. I'm going to mark you down, Mark, because we wanted more. How do you feel about that one? Because you're building a world-class rare earths project.
Yeah.
Potentially multi-billion-dollar business there. You're doing what you're meant to be doing on the uranium side of things. White Mesa is building up to critical minerals hub overall, but you got marked down. Is it because you're spending too much money? You're not making enough money? What do people want from you?
Look, I think the headline was the loss, a $48 million loss, of which at least $10 million was transactional, just paying all the lawyers and the bankers and all that.
Yeah.
But there were other costs that were associated with the combination.
Yep.
But yeah, we're three companies in one. The uranium side of the business supports itself off the uranium. But taking a unvalued, we're not getting valued for the rare earths of the heavy mineral sands, but spending the money that's required to get the appreciation and the value of those assets, which are extraordinary, particularly Toliara, doesn't happen without spending money.
What are you spending it on, I guess? Explain to people what you spend, because we've done the transaction, we got the transaction costs, and now you got to build it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, with the combination, we also, with Base, we took on the final reclamation of the Kwale project in Kenya. So there's expenditures on that. Now, we did get $40 million of revenue off the sales of the heavy mineral sands, and we're expecting 10 to 15 in the first quarter of further heavy mineral sands sales. But we took on a complete company. We had transaction costs. We took on the expenditures for the reclamation of Kwale project, which was all anticipated. And now we're moving to the final investment decision, which we've launched at the Toliara project. So we've got a complete team working through the FID process, updating the feasibility. Meanwhile, we're advancing the legal agreements, as I mentioned, with the Madagascar government. And all that is all per plan. It's all per plan. But when you have an asset that we believe is worth billions, not a billion, billions, it doesn't create that value without completing those studies, without getting the binding agreements in place and getting all that stuff signed up. So, but it's not recognized in our share price. And that's the opportunity for shareholders, that we're actually advancing that to unlock the value on the acquisition of Base Resources and Toliara project. Now, in addition, we've got the Donald project and we got Bahia, which we're also advancing.
Bahia down in Brazil. Can you help manage expectations then? In terms of Toliara, like you've taken over an entire other company, entire complementary asset.
Yeah.
What's the time frame moving through the phases with feasibility, and obviously the government component is a little bit unknown?
Yeah, we're hoping we have all the binding agreements signed this year, hopefully earlier in the year. That we're advancing on that kind of a timeline. The FID on Toliara we expect early in 2026. We also have a FID underway at the Donald project in Victoria, which will be currently scheduled for like June 30th of this year. Could be a bit later, but that's the current schedule. So that's underway. And then we're doing the definitive feasibility on the phase 2 expansion at White Mesa Mill, which also is expected to be done at the end of the year. So we've got 3 major projects that are all expected to be in final form by the end of the year. And at the same time, we are very focused on the next step, which is project financing, so that those FIDs can be made with the right certainty. And we've got a couple debt advisors that are working with us on that. So there's a lot of moving parts. But if you're going to take a company that currently has a market cap between $900 million to, say, $1 billion, and you're going to become a $4 or $5 billion company, you've got to show you've got all the tools in the bucket. And that's what these FIDs do. That's what this definitive feasibility study done. And we believe that in addition to that, there will be news flow on potential off-takers, potential further investors, and how we're going to fund this aggressive strategy going forward.
Yeah, because I think maybe that's what people are looking. Okay, the FID is it's not a particularly expensive year in the sense that you've got 3 major projects moving through to FID. But there's going to need to be this financing stack that you're going to need to put together, right?
Yeah, and there's no way we move these projects forward without having the financing in place. So we do the studies, and the day that we have all the financing in order is the day that we can make an informed decision on whether we go or not. So we'll have these assets advanced, everything's updated, working on the financing. And what we're doing is, I'm going to be in D.C. next week. I'm going to be telling the new Trump administration that our assets that we've accumulated, how we've advanced them, are the best position for any company that they'll talk to that'll ever come through their doors on solving 50% of the United States critical elements when it comes to the rare earths in the existing term, bar none. By the end of the term, with those 3 projects I just mentioned, they're all scheduled to advance. They're all scheduled to be world scale, and they're all scheduled to be low cost. And that's pretty powerful.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.